Welcome to Ventures from the Valley, a podcast by R136 Ventures. This is the show where we highlight the biggest topics in business and investment with some of the biggest experts in the space to help you learn how to grow your portfolio in venture capital. I'm Victor Orlovski. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ventures from the Valley. Today, we are joined by Shahar Fogel, a visionary leader at the helm of Rookout, where he has been pivotal in redefining the landscape of cloud-native debugging for engineering teams worldwide. With a career deeply rooted into technology and innovation, Shahar has guided Rookout to become a Gartner cool vendor, transforming how developers address and solve software challenges. His leadership has empowered teams at renowned companies like Cisco and Santander Bank, drastically cutting down mean time to resolution and elevating customer satisfaction. Before Rookout, Shahar's journey through brand tricks and connecting technology showcased his ability to lead and innovate in diverse tech environments, from sports analytics to secure enterprise social networks. His passion for making technology both accessible and impactful sets him apart as a leader dedicated to pushing the boundaries of software development. Welcome, Shahar. We will go through the questions today. I prepared some, but let's start with a little bit of yourself. Tell me, what do you want to tell to other people about yourself, your journey?
Cool. So first of all, pleasure being here. Always great to meet up and talk. So a little bit about myself. So my name is Shahar Fogel. I live in Israel. First and foremost, I'm a family man. I'm married and I have 4 kids and a dog. And this is always my top priority in everything I do, even at work. In addition to that, I love sports very much. I try to follow as much as I can. Tennis is my personal passion, and I like to follow and play and do whatever I can. And even my dog's name is Roger, so I can attest to how much I love the sport. Professionally, I started my career, I think, more than 25 years ago, always in the tech domain. I started as an engineer, as a software developer in the Israeli intelligence. I spent around 10 years there doing mainly cybersecurity related projects, from being an engineer to a team lead, to managing around 60 engineers back then as a department head, doing a lot of cool stuff. Basically, afterwards, I moved to the UK. I did an MBA in Cambridge University. Then I moved to Switzerland, spent a few years in a private VC fund. Then after a few years in VC, moved back to operational roles, did some VP product roles and management roles. And my last position was in Rookout. I was the CEO of Rookout, which we sold 6 months ago to Dynatrace, a publicly traded US company. And today I'm managing product in Dynatrace. So that's kind of 25 years in a glance. A lot of, I have tech and tech in my heart, but I'm, personally wise, I'm less hands-on. I'm more around the people, the business, the strategy, and how to take, technical stuff and turn them into a viable business. So that's kind of my mindset around what I love doing. That's very short description of many years.
Okay, cool. So I assume your journey to tech started in the army, right? So I'm sure you were to one of these famously known units, what they call it, Shmoneh time, right? Or 8200 or 8100.
Yes.
So that was one of those, right? So was it like you voluntarily have chosen to become like a tech, or you have been selected and it was not your passion, like to be a tech guy?
So tech was always my passion. I actually started it, at the age of 10 when I got, I don't remember, the Commodore 64 and, the first Pentium machines. And starting from the age of 14, I worked in tech companies in high school whenever I could, of course. So I'm a techie by heart. And kind of it went naturally into into the military. I did the Mamram course, which is kind of the elite programming course. And then I joined Unit 81, doing special stuff for the cyber world. It was, for me, since I remember myself, this was always my goal and my passion. And like everything else in life, I tried and did everything I can to get to the places which were always the most interesting for me.
Cool. So right after the army, you basically started working in technology. Did you have an idea to like start something up immediately, or you had no like idea to evolve to a startup or to like start a company? So what was your path? I mean, was it like more to work for someone or just do business on your own? Did you have any crazy ideas you wanted to pursue and you decided not to pursue for whatever reason?
So basically I'll divide the answer into two. One is, personally, how I feel about myself. And secondly, is the idea and the ideation process and whatever. So I'll start with the easy part, the ideation. I always think about new stuff. I always talk to many people as I can, to wrap my head around pains and problems that exist out there that I would like to tackle, whether it's a part of, doing my own thing, being employed somewhere, or helping others do stuff that I found was cool. That's one. Secondly, around kind of the timing of post-army. So, I consider myself a guy that knows himself very well and very realistic about, what I need to do to achieve stuff. And for me, kind of back then, I really wanted to get the experience of not, immediately start something and trying and failing and whatever, which a lot of people take and can be an amazing journey. And, I wouldn't say a lot succeed, but there always are people that succeed this path or that path. And it's very personal for me. I wanted to get a glance of, how it looks and how it feels and learning from people with experience. And I started post-army and post-studies with VC because, I didn't want to deep dive into, a specific product. I wanted to get kind of a wider view of a lot of domains, a lot of technologies, a lot of ideas, a lot of products to learn, to see entrepreneurs, to see operators and kind of to get as much as I to gain as much knowledge as I can. So once I'll get to that point, I'll have the track record of not the CV track record, but the personal track record of seeing enough in order to do stuff. And again, it doesn't always guarantees that what I would do or anyone will do with experience is perfect, but at least, we've seen some stuff before, at least myself. So that's always important for me. And of course, we continue to sail fast and move on. So that's kind of the notion. We're always try to improve.
And would you think of yourself like to be more a product guy or more a tech guy? I mean, are you coding yourself? When did you stop coding?
Basically hands-on. I developed software for around 4 years. So, I stopped kind of 15 to 20 years ago. But even when I became, a team lead or a manager or whatever, it was always around tech. I'm a product guy. I can't find myself sitting in front of a computer for 10 hours straight. And, these are the best and most interesting, problems and issues to solve. But kind of personality wise, I think there are better and more equipped people to solve technical challenges than I do. I have other strengths.
What is like product development for you, especially in software? What is it? Is it more imagination, more design thinking, more process? I mean, how would you think of to be a perfect product owner or product manager? What is it for you, and how this role evolves over the time? So how do you see this role was 5 years ago? What this role is all about now? And what this role is going to be like in 5 years? How do you think it's going to evolve?
So I think it very much depends on the industry, deep tech industries, chip design and stuff like that. You need to be very, 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 very technical, both in terms of the product and understanding and doing your job. What we're doing and did and doing in Rookout was also very highly technical. But I also believe that a good product manager is a combination of many, many things. You don't need to be the best at one thing. You need to, again, my perspective, you need to be kind of a jack of all trades, because it's building a puzzle. It's understanding the technology, understanding the customer, understanding the market, finding the right pain points and the right problems, making sure that the solution that we're building is based on feedback. Again, it's also, I think for me, the kind of product understanding is evolving with stages of companies. So, Rookout early stage at the beginning was very much product oriented, tech, UX. Afterwards, it was customers and feedback and resonating and pains. Afterwards is, pricing understanding and willingness to pay and sizing and all these kind of strategies. When you scale and when you grow, it's more around the go-to-market, the sales, the enablement, the marketing, the demand gen. You don't have, I believe, of course, for the demand gen, there are the marketing people who will do it, but is it not super correlated with product? And, if it's not bi-directional, you can't just have, a product, here's a package, take it, sell it. It doesn't work like that, I believe. It needs to be constantly, building an hypothesis, testing it in the field, in the market, succeeding. If succeeding, chuck some money into it and fuel and go. If not, do the iterations back, understanding what does product can do in order to improve go to market, and vice versa. What does go to market, because they're kind of in the forefront of the business, knows, understand, and hear, and taking it back internally into the product and making sure that, the product roadmap kind of correlates to the market demand, and not just like with the horses on the blind of the eye, run straight and hope for the best. Again, anomalies always happens, and some people succeed like that and some people succeed like that, but that's how I see it. It's a very much, today I was the CEO of Rookout, and I think for a product path is very helps you very much to fulfill the role afterwards of an entrepreneur or a CEO, whatever. And then seeing it now, in an enterprise. So the product role is completely different. You think strategic, you think marketing, you think shareholders, you think big numbers, not, growing from 1 to 5 to 10 millions in AR. You have $1 billion, and every minor change, every, percentage change makes more impact in a whole startup company. So it's different types of thinking, learning is always important.
One thing about the product, just to complete the whole story. So there are two competing ideas. One is you have to build something what you offer to customers, and you have to imagine this thing, and you do not need to ask customers, because customers will never come up with some great ideas, right? And another kind of approach is that you first have to go and search for a need and speak to your potential customers on what they think the problem is and what could be the solution, right?
Yep.
So if taking this latter approach, you would never build up a mobile phone, an iPhone, right? Because customer would never demand it. So obviously you were more in B2B business. So it's true for B2B that you need to solve a problem and then come up with a solution. Or you better go and check with your customers prior to doing a product, just to have a feedback on a design thinking way.
I think it's not contradicting. I think you, at least at the beginning, in the early stage, you need to do both. I completely agree that, customers, even when you run an ideation process, and I've run a few of those even before Rookout, you can hear, 5 opinions from 3 people. So, everyone has its own pain point. Everyone has his own viewpoint on the world and what he does. And kind of the beauty of thinking about a new product, new company, new solution, is to combine. You have to be creative. You have to kind of listen to as many people as you can, finding common grounds, finding kind of the mutually exclusive elements that will help you drive it. But on the other hand, continue and and live up to your hypotheses, because again, they don't know what they want, they don't understand the solutions. And it's a flywheel. You constantly have to test things, to have a combination, because I've seen so many companies talking to customers and hearing their ideas, but there's not always, but there's many times a gap between what they want and what they're willing to pay for, especially in enterprise B2B tech companies. Not necessarily that's that's everyone. But again, it's willingness to pay, or also level of, you build a product that you think will make you, a 7 figures deal, but they're willing to pay 50K. Why? Because there's no budget line, or because so these are kind of the business questions that need to kind of distill within the big soup that you're building, in order to, not to, step on anyone's, ideas, following your path.
Okay. So thanks. So we now deep dive into what the product is all about, especially in a startup way. So let's switch to your last baby, which you're still engaged with in a different role though. So Rookout, if you can just describe briefly for our listeners and supporters what the product is all about. We as R136 Ventures were proud investors in this company. Last preferred round, we led this round. So if you can just describe the company in your own words for people to understand what actually Rookout was all about.
Cool. So basically, Rookout was kind of a category defining company. We did something no one has done before, which is enabling developers to operate in the observability world in the ways and the places that they want to see the data. And our core product was a production debugger. We allow developers to add, remove, or change data points, which we call non-breaking breakpoints, in every environment, from dev to production, and from monoliths to cloud native application, distributed and serverless, in a click of a button. So getting the data you need without writing more code, without redeploying, and without waiting for the data to come. So by doing that, we enabled them basically enterprise. We looked at there's the value to the developer and the value to the customer, which is the large organization, to enable them to solve issues around 80% faster than they used to solve it before, reducing MTTR, increasing productivity of the development team. So that's kind of the high level of what we did.
So you really described it in a way that only developers would understand.
Yes.
So if your listener is an investment manager, he would not really have a clue of the product yet. So
yes.
in simpler words, for our listeners, it is a product that helps developers to develop code and post it into production with less labor, and also to debug it. And debugging means that you have to find an error in the system, right? And it is difficult, right? You know that system or platform, whatever, the piece of code doesn't work, but you don't know why. And in order to really understand the cause of the problem, you just need to debug it. And that's what Rookout was doing. So this platform enables software developers to make less errors in the code. And if the errors still exist, to find cause of these errors faster and correct this cause of the errors without back and forth moving software from what is called production environment to test environment and back. So, and I really liked it because I was a software developer and I really developed a lot of code. And I know that's the most boring thing, when something doesn't work and you do not understand why, and you can't really find the this bug, right? And you keep watching and keep looking, and you are in constant search for this debugging tools, because that's what helps you to find, okay, that's the error, and that this error is caused by this particular thing. And in my times when I developed the code, around 40% of my time and my team time was dedicated to testing, finding errors, actually debugging the code, and then deploying the code into production. So I really liked Rookout for that because it just solved my pain point, my real need, right? So when did you start in Rookout?
So I joined Rookout in February 2020. 2 years after the formation of the company. A month after I joined, we got COVID. So I had to start in a new company in a fully remote, mass-oriented environment. So that was an interesting start. But
But did you manage to meet all your team members before?
Yes.
Fortunately, right. Okay. You knew what they look like without a mask, right?
Yeah. So I had 2 weeks in the office and another week actually abroad with the American team that I managed to have before all hell broke loose. And so I managed to see them, afterwards, new hires and stuff like that, and people who joined throughout the first few months. I knew them up to here. Kind of, the legs were a question mark. But yes, I don't know. I'm not asking. Whatever is below here, it's their thing. But so I joined 2020, and it was just after the A round for the company, and there were a lot of challenges and things that needs to be continued to push and to change and to adapt and to amend. So it was a lot of work to be done there, and kind of we managed to grow from almost zero revenues to a few $1 million in ARR. A great product, great feedbacks on the market, great customers on our books, enterprises, from Fortune 10 or Fortune 100 all the way to startups and unicorns and you name it. Basically, our solution was solving the pain for everyone, whether you're a developer in a 5-people startup or an engineer in JP Morgan Chase. So we had good traction.
It's a very short story, but I want to deep dive into this. So you started when the company was already 2 years old, right?
Yes.
It's still like very young company, right? So it's like still it's in evolution, very early evolution. You said zero revenue, right?
Yeah.
So this company survived without you for 2 years. And I assume that it was led by founders, right?
Exactly.
So how did you find this opportunity? Who brought you into this? You were not in this company from first day, right? You were not founder. So how they found you?
So it was kind of a bi-directional introduction. First of all, the two founders were my friends. Before we worked together in the service more than I think 20 years ago. So we know each other for a long time. One of them was in my wedding, so we have a good familiarity for many, many years ago. And also, when they founded the company in the summer of 2017 was exactly when I came back to Israel after 8 years in the UK and Switzerland. So when I came back, we met and they told me about their idea. I helped them a bit and connected them with some investors. So I'm not, of course, taking any credit. It's all in Liran, founded the company. I always try to help people I know and even don't know. So that was kind of
what were their roles? So there are two founders.
Two founders. O was the CEO and Liran was the CTO.
Or CEO and CTO. Okay.
Yeah, classical two partners venture. So I knew the company from before its inception, and I was kind of there when they raised their seed round on TLV and Emerge. And
did they invite you even before you joined as formal as CEO? So you were constantly invited and refused this invitation, or you were not invited before A round?
There were some discussions before the seed round to join the company. It was not the right time personally. So we continued to stay friends, and fast forward 2 years later, and things were happening in the company, and I was approached by the board. Would it be of interest to join the company? So we had, I think, 3 or 4 months, 2-3 months of back and forth, and a lot of due diligence from their end, on my end, and talking and understanding, what's the potential there, where's the company, and product and the customers and funding and everything, until eventually, all the star aligned. Then I joined February.
So you joined post Series A, right? Not
post Series A.
After they raised. How much they raised in Series A?
Series A was $8 million led by Cisco Investments with participation from the existing fund. That was August 2019. So I was approached like that's right, 3-4 months after the run.
Okay. And what was the reason why a founder and CEO decided to step from CEO position, and what he felt he's missing, what he wanted to find in yourself or a new CEO or whatever? So what was the reason for changing the most important man in a startup?
So this is a topic I would like to less get involved in, because there's always the professional and personal considerations to everyone involved. But I think at the end of the day, let's say everyone around the table, the board table, well, maybe not everyone, but that's always the challenge around it. Try to take the decision which is best for the company. So that's kind of looking ahead and trying to understand kind of what the future holds for the company. The board decided that they need to refresh.
Maybe I will rephrase it. So what are the qualities which board found in you to offer you this role? What were like two most important qualities? Okay, this is the person we want because of A and B. What was this A and B?
So the board, I knew them before, yeah. So they knew me. I think kind of the two main elements, maybe three main elements. One is my experience. I have a lot of experience in the tech industry, in early stage, in later stage, and VC. So kind of the holistic view of driving a company with a working product and a great team, an awesome environment to the market. That's one. Secondly, I had familiarity with a lot of people involved, so both founders and the board. So it wasn't like going on a headhunt for an external CEO, looking for headhunters interviews, and then you need to get to know the people. It's a long process. For me, it was
basically you were the only candidate for this role. So it was not a selection of like 5 people. And
I would not.
Shahar Fogel.
I would not say that. There were others in the mix, but eventually I'm here. So that's the outcome.
Okay. So you got a team. How big was the team?
Back then it was 23 people when I joined, something like that.
People.
Yeah.
So 23 people, $8 million in the bank. How big was the board?
5 people.
5 people on the board. And what was your main, it was beginning of 2020. What was your main kind of objectives? So what you had to achieve in 2022? In 2020. Yeah. What was that?
So I will also divide it into what was my objectives when I joined, and what was my objective a month later when I joined. When COVID hit, the easy part. COVID hit. No, let's keep floating. That was kind of the notion for everyone in the world. What the hell is going on? We're going to the bin and let's make sure we survive. But my objectives before was basically fixing a lot of things that were needed for a fix within the company, and the main one is just selling. We have a product, we have a team. There's a great the demand and pain out there. Just make it sellable and go out to the market. That's bring in the logos, bring in the revenues, and early stage startups. That's what we need. Metrics.
So basically, your main goal was to basically start building up the revenue, right? The pipeline and revenue everything. Generation, go to market. Okay. So, by the way, was COVID for you a tailwind or a headwind? For many companies in B2B, it was clearly tailwind, but for some, it was a headwind. So how would you see it from now? Was it?
I think at the beginning it was headwind for everyone because everything stopped for a few months, and then when people kind of got back to I would say normality, but less panic mode. I think it was a tailwind for all the enterprise B2B companies, both in terms of the business, because as we remember the 2021 craziness of funding. So, a lot of money was poured into the market, and companies also, was less reluctant to, less reluctant to, try out new solutions. So, more budgets, more willingness to try. People were hiring, people were paying. So, it was a tailwind in terms of customers as well. And also, we were selling to tech companies or tech development organizations. A lot of expedition in developing software, digital transformation, remote work. All these trends contributed to a lot more investments in technical solutions. And when there's more developers, there's more bugs and Rookout. So it was definitely a headwind in the last 2 years.
Okay, so your goal was to actually build sales machine, right? So your new employer, DataDance, is a sales machine. Like every big B2B company is a sales machine, and that's what makes it different from startups. So startup is just building a sales machine. It's a yet to go. It's like evolving sales machine. You may compare it with a small factory and the giant plant, a giant factory. So giant factory is this giant tech companies, and it's well known that companies like Cisco, they build upon buying startups, and Oracle is the same. IBM is sort of the same. They don't really do a lot in-house. They buy startups and then they plug them into their own sales machine, and then they start boosting revenue out of that. So what, if you can just describe what was your kind of B2B approach towards like building up this sales machine? So did you decide to like go upstream to largest corporates, tech companies, legacy brick and mortar? What was your choice, and why you have made the choice you made? And was it like the right choice at the end?
So I completely agree with what you're saying. Kind of enterprises are an already built machine, which you just, need to, their core dev strategy is build versus buy. They are building a lot of stuff, but they are buying some stuff as well. And that's kind of the challenges that we have now, is how do we integrate technically, and also how do we get into the machine? Because the machine is dead and it's busy and it has a lot of things to sell. And, Rookout or the live debugger is another one. So, how do you position it internally? Also, you need to convince sales that, your product is something worth selling, and it's like, hot bread in the morning and So different challenges, different viewpoints. In terms of Rookout in the beginning, so basically our strategy was going enterprise, was going up market, large companies.
More technology companies or more brick and mortar?
No, brick and mortar, only technology. We sold to developers. So in brick and mortar is usually...
But every company now has tech teams.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Less advanced, more advanced, but
exactly.
there is no company which doesn't have technology teams or software developers, right?
Definitely. We had US cold storage, which sold refrigerators. We had Cisco as a customer, Adobe, Autodesk. So we had everything from everything. But that's kind of, the outliers are always there. And when you build a go-to-market machine, basically we decided to take it up market into, SMEs and large enterprises because of, few elements. One is the level of pain they have. So for a small startup, the pain is there, but they can probably solve it within a day. In a big enterprise, when they release once a month and there's a bug and they have to solve it, and MTTR and SLAs, and if the cost of not using it is much higher than the cost of using it. So the license to value ratio is 10x. So, we're also, both the pain is bigger there and also their budget is bigger. So, you can get 6+ figure deals. That's one. Secondly, around the amount of effort and capital needed in order to execute different go-to-markets varies a lot. So, when I joined, so there were either we go enterprise, classical, BDRs, SDRs, account execs, and driving me there, versus call it PLG, bottom up, developers, freemium. We went more enterprise. We still had a small PLG play there, mainly to drive it's product-led growth. Sorry, product-led growth, meaning you put a free an experimental version out there. They try it out, they like it, they don't like it, they buy, and then you can expand towards the way. This is
so
a
you
playbook.
decided to go classical approach, right?
Yes,
with just building up classical team. Why is that? I mean, why decided not a product led but a classic kind of structure?
So two elements to it. One is the product, a PLG or product led or bottom up self-serve requires a very unique type of product that is almost zero touch or almost requires no training or just self onboarding, which the product was, but for more advanced users, for all the common users, we still had friction there in terms of making them understand how to use it. And if it's not, this is a very 0 to 1. If it's not perfect, and it's just requires a little bit of help, so they will try it out, won't succeed, and you lost them. So the product was not there. Of course, a lot of work has been done over the years to bring it closer and closer. That's one. And secondly, it's also speed, time to market, and capital. So PLG is a longer play. It takes years to build a pipeline. Some of the most successful companies in the world
it's less expensive though, right? It's less expensive, but it takes more time.
The go to market is less expensive, but it will take you 3-4 years. And in this 3-4 years, you still have to invest the capital in R&D and, the 70-80% out of your expenses in the company, which are very expensive. So you need to raise more and more rounds with almost zero to show for in the go-to-market and traction. So, it's a balance. But enterprise are, for that point in time, with a product, with a go-to-market, with market visibility to what we're doing, was the right decision to take it enterprise-wise and to build the machine there.
I'm sure you have challenged yourself and tested different approaches to sell, right? What worked, what didn't? So was it more cold calls and cold emails or whatever, LinkedIn's? If you can just a little bit unpack your secrets of what was a successful sales strategy and what was not successful sales strategy.
Difficult question. I think it was very much, it changed also over the years. Let's say COVID wise, 2020, 2021, people, cold calling did not work. People were not in their offices. Privacy laws does not allow you to call their personal or home phone to sell. So it was kind of irrelevant. So LinkedIn worked very well because people were also, more in front of the computer. They had more free time because, you don't have coffee time or chatting to your guy in the office. So it was very much net amount of work or time for work. And people to kind of run away from their day-to-day tasks, went to social networks and whatever. Today we're seeing less of that. And with time, kind of 2022, 2023, doing the classical enterprise playbook of SDRs and building the pipeline and doing ABM, which is account-based marketing. So building a list of companies, targeting them, doing it very tailor-made to that specific person or to the challenges of the organization worked well for us in order to secure POCs and closed ones afterwards. So I can connect, divide it into kind of COVID time and post-COVID time. What was important for me is not to invent the wheel in terms of how you do stuff, but more in terms of what you do. So high focus on personalization. The messages that you send, don't send a random message in LinkedIn for everyone the same. Just doesn't work. People get so much spam. do it personal, try to research, try to use AI, whatever, try to understand, a conference
Even
of the
AI,
person.
AI in sales, right? Just to analyze
Yes.
your sales
Yeah.
flow.
We used some for analysis. We use some for marketing and tailoring. So, writing a tailored message to a dev director, which we know is a Go fanatic, or Go is a programming language, or spoke in that conference and saying, okay, we heard, your talk in that conference, to invoke some kind of an interest, because you literally have like 2 seconds for someone to read the header or the first line before they delete it. So, that's a challenge for everyone, not only us.
So, did you try also some partnerships, and if it worked at all? I mean, when you sell through partners?
We tried partnerships. Basically we didn't step on anyone's toes. So we partnered with a lot of players, a lot of vendors in the observability space. So, Dynatrace, of course, who eventually acquired us, and Datadog and Cisco and New Relic and everyone. We were in good communication with them, with the hyperscalers as well. So Azure, GCP, AWS being on their marketplaces, and some system integrators. To tell you that was the best channel for us. It did not work that well. I think it's because dev tools are less sold through system integrators, third parties. People just like to go online and buy it or do it as an enterprise deal. And also it's kind of sometimes it's counterproductive to what resellers are doing. They want to increase workload. We want to reduce workload. And, if they buy our product, it's kind of affecting other product that, is less needed. That's one. But I still think it was a very important thing to do. Created a lot of exposure in the market, a lot of noise, marketing that we could use, credibility play. Once you're playing with the big boys. So when you go to a bank, you're not a small startup from the Middle East. You're a company with customers, with logos, with being on the right places with the right players that already express their vote of confidence in you.
I understood that you also invested quite a bit into brand and general marketing, right? You became a Gartner co-vendor. So did it really help? I mean, do customers value this rankings, this kind of things you get through like this consulting firms like Gartner, for example? How challenging was it to get into this?
So it's always good internally for myself, but that's less important for the team. It's recognition. It's something, the team developers, they don't know a lot about the market, but Gartner, they know. And if Gartner says you're cool, it's great for the employees. They're the ones making the magic happen. So, you need to keep them involved and happy. In terms of,
so it's more for employees, or it's more for customers?
So that's one, which is important that you didn't mention. But I think kind of it has more impact on large enterprises, because they're very much focused on, okay, let's go to Gartner, let's see research, this is the boxes we need to tick. So being in the cool vendor and being in the magic quadrants and being in all of these high profile reports is very important. I would say it's less important for smaller businesses. They care less about it. And where it also helps is, you mentioned before investment community. So yes, investment community. Once you get, the Gartner stamp of something, it helps you.
Investors like it, right? So they sign checks. Okay.
Yeah, investor eventually wants proof of success, numbers, and credibility. And you use whatever you can in order to get as much credibility and success you can.
Okay, sounds really interesting. So a couple of more questions on sales, and then we will switch to your role as CEO, which is equally interesting journey. So you were selling a unique product. That's what we started. What Rookout built, what really excited you when you joined, that's something really unique. And I also really like the product, and I thought that that's pretty unique. So you're coming to decision maker in whatever company, right? And then you pitch to this decision maker saying, this is a unique opportunity for you to drop down your costs of development significantly. And you can save 20-30% on your long-term cost of ownership of your software, which you develop in-house. And still it is difficult to sell, right? Still it is difficult to build the momentum and to build the revenue, right? So what was the main the main pushback? We are not interested. Why? Was it like you not being able to sell it? Because you're kind of selling a big thing, right? So you can have 30% less development pool, or make it more like 30% more efficient. Why? There was no line of customers who wanted that desperately, who would just do it, buy it again and again, more and more. Why? You need still to put a lot of effort into selling, and why it didn't succeed in sometimes.
So I think kind of the main challenge that we had in terms of sales is that selling to developers is different. It's not just like going to a head of legal and selling them something that will help internal legal or accounting or HR or whatever. That's a very much top down. It's a unique persona that had a very opinionated one. That the play is not only going to the budget owner and convincing him. It's a dual play. So you have to ascertain or communicate the value from one end, but on the other hand, you need the developers to love it and to be the champion of it, and the product was great, still great, it's awesome, it's super beneficial, but there's a proliferation of a lot of tools, and developers have they can see very much the value to themselves, also the individual value, but they don't have the prism to see organizational value, and if they're not engaged sometimes, so it's difficult. Even if you can convince the true value, the organizational value, with developers, it's very, very difficult. It's not like security. You go top down, you sell to the CISO, here's the system, go use. You don't have anything else. They can choose their stuff. So adoption and engagement with the product was always a challenge. And kind of the combination of and the mix between these two sometimes created more friction in the sales process. So it's not, even if you go to enterprise, it's not fully top down.
So who was your main competitor? Whom you beat upon? Whom you faced in competition usually?
So I think there were two types of competition for us. The biggest one was status quo. So we have what we have. We have logs. We all have logs. We don't like anyone to move our cheese. We're okay. We don't need this. We don't believe whatever. We'll keep whatever we have right now. We're good. Which is basically nothing. It's kind of the old logging world. That was the main competitor. In addition, we had a few other players in the market that we competed with. I think, from our statistic, 90+% of bake-offs we won in terms of, tech coverage, product support, product features, everything. That was less of my concern because we were the first one to create this category. We had the best product out there. We had the best traction out there. So, we were not yet in a phase where we have to head-to-head compete with many, many vendors.
So you proved the point that innovation and adoption of innovation is never an easy thing, right? Being it a business or being it a consumer, it always gets to some psychological gap, right? When people have to really buy it, right? If they do something, they have to change the way they're doing. Even they changing to the best, to better, they still have to be convinced, right? And changing psychologically is difficult, especially software developers. I think that these are the most kind of, traditional and kind of risk averse people, right? They don't want to try new. I mean, that's kind of a interesting thing. I remember in my time, when I was just doing like a lot of this databases and building up the system of records and stuff. There were always people like who supported SAP or Oracle, right? So those who were SAP never would do Oracle, and those who do Oracle never do SAP. Those who were like C++ would never do anything else, right? So because people, I mean, not because they have no ability to change, just because they don't like to. I mean, they want to do what they know well, and they don't want to change. And that's kind of a weird thing about innovation, really.
Yeah. People have their habits. And as you mentioned, no one ever got fired for buying an Oracle database. And when you're a small startup, there's much more convincing and grinding and value perception, value proposition to do in order to get the deal done. But that's also part of the fun of it, the challenge, the struggle, if you're a masochist, but it's fun. You encounter so many new things and challenges and things you have to solve. That's what I like about early stage. That it's always, you always have to deal, quote unquote, with the bad stuff. If it's working, good. Here, people do it. Just work the machine. And you as kind of a product, the decision maker always have to deal with this is not working, this is not working, with this is not succeed. With the success and grace will reappear. But your main, 80% of the day is dealing with the challenges.
True. So let's switch to your CEO role. So you basically had three kind of type of stakeholders. One is employees, another is investors, and third is customers. So what was the easiest to manage? And how did you manage all three? What was your priority and what was your kind of challenge, if you may, with every type of your stakeholder community?
Sure. So since you were on the board as well, and that's truly my answer to the board was the easiest part because, everyone was in the same mindset and everyone was super supportive. And, we thought about challenges together and we thought about solutions together. And I think trust in the board, mutual trust is super important for success because if it's only fighting and stuff like that, so, it can't move anything. We had, at least I felt that I was given a very high amount of trust and ownership and kind of run free and do what you think is best for the company kind of approach, which, helped me personally to drive the things we wanted to achieve as a company. So
board was very supportive, right? So you were lucky. Board was kind of always on your side and always supportive to.
Not always, but it's like everything. It's a game of give and take.
But no conflict, at least. There were always consensus, the way to find
every conflict is manageable, and like everything in life, with the board and with the kids and with employees and with everything, it's a matter of choose your battles. And, you have to win some and you have to lose some, and you have to choose what you lose in order to gain points for what you win. So it's always, having the little notebook and making sure that, it all evens out. So eventually, even if there were conflicts and there were misalignments, eventually we always found a solution that everyone was happy about. And even if there were, or I was not happy about, we agreed and we moved on. So it was never dwelling there in terms of bad blood.
I actually agree with you. I'm sitting on many boards, and I think that Rookout was one of the most consistent, most rational board. I was sitting and was working with, and I really respect highly all the board members, which I pretty much agree with. So what about employees? What's your
Just my minor comments to the last part. If we have operators listening to this, my advice is, top priority for CEOs, making sure that, the people who are sitting around the board table, I would say your friends, but they're in the same mindset of that what you do, they're supportive with you. There's a high degree of trust. Otherwise, your life will be a nightmare. Putting that aside, going back to employees,
I do agree. I do agree with you. By the way, I think that in my over 10 years of experience in acting as a board member. I think that's definitely true. What Shahar was saying, and I echoing it largely. I think that it is important to not only align yourself, but to have a chemistry with people whom you work with, because it's your extended family. And I saw so many times when companies were destroyed by the boards, although there were really brilliant people on the boards. But when they act as shareholders rather than just company board members, and they are sitting in two hats usually, and although they all have fiduciary duties, many times boards evolve into playing for your own, right? And your own benefits and your own objectives, which is really getting very bad, making very bad consequences to the companies. So I totally agree.
Yeah. So employees, I found, employees, I wouldn't say it's the most difficult part because, I'm a people's person. This is what I've been doing, managing teams, people for the last 20 something years. I love it. I love the human nature and understanding people and knowing, which buttons to press to push for motivation, to cover for lack of motivation, to bring them on board into the journey. So that's always very, very challenging. But for me, it's kind of a personal passion as well. So I wouldn't call it hard. It takes and consume a lot of your time, but I think kind of
how much when you say a lot, is it like 100% of your time? How much did you dedicate?
If it's 100%, you're doing something wrong.
How much did you dedicate for like social and emotional and talking to employees, discovering insights and this kind of stuff, which
I think 30, 40%.
Okay.
30, 40%. I think kind of one of the most important tasks for a CEO is to hire the best people that you can just, 100%, work with and 100% trust that they will need to do what you were doing until now and even better than you. Once I brought in, a new VP product that that blindly trust and go for it, it reduces so much workload for me. So I can focus on, more and more stuff. So hiring is super, super important for, both for operationally the day to day, but also kind of, if you think about the hiring part is super, super important and critical, in two areas. One is kind of building a company, hiring operational wise, the day to day. But also, thinking about the outcome for Rookout or for any company, if it's not IPO'd or dead, there's the exit part or the acquisition part, and the people element there is super important. You need to make sure that you have super strong team that knows what they're doing, because it's part of the diligence process, both in terms of investments, also in terms of acquisitions, and it's a major factor in a purchasing decision and or price decision. So
Sam Altman at OpenAI, he still interviews every person accepted to be employed by OpenAI. Did you do the same? I mean, was it like your job to hire people, or you outsourced it?
No. So I wish I would have the achievements of Sam or someday somewhere. So it's an honor to be. Hopefully, we still have energies in our bones. But for me, every employee who joined Rookout I interviewed. There was no new employee that joined and didn't go through me. It was less around asking technical questions. Again, better people than I do to have all these evaluations. Important for me. It's people laugh about it, but culturally wise, we spent in the startup days, 15, 18 hours a day working together, driving like crazy. You need to make sure that people are like-minded, that you'll have fun with them, that they're not kind of psychos, weirdos that you cannot communicate with. It's super important personally for me to build, a culture of inclusiveness and collaboration and, everyone's driving together. And, I have my viewpoint on people, even if it's 30 minutes, you understand, I wouldn't say love at first sight, but it's kind of similar. After 30 minutes of someone, you understand if you want to spend, 5 hours in the airport with it.
When is it this tipping point for you, like when you work with people? I mean, it is a challenge for me. It was always a challenge. Should I lay off this particular person, or I should continue to invest into making his work better, himself better? So where do you kind of stop trying? So how fast you can make this decision?
Yeah,
usually?
One of the most difficult questions there are in management. How much grace that someone gets until you decide it's no longer fitting. We had people that we had to let go a year plus too late, and we had people that we understood within a month that it's not working. I'm always for giving chances. I'm always for at least a quarter for sure onboarding, and to make it not demanding a task to be made within the first week of people being here. So, normal onboarding and letting them learn and giving them the opportunity to prove themselves. I think it's also a mix between, a senior and a junior. Juniors get much more grace because they're juniors. With seniors, you expect more, and you expect more in shortened times. There's always the personal element, if you become friends with a person or not. I had to, unfortunately, throughout my career, part ways with some people which were, very good friends on the, work friends on a day to day. But I think that's one of the things that is expected from, someone who's managing people to separate between, a lot of considerations as to working with people versus what's important for the company, which sometimes may be contradicting. And you have shareholders, you want to succeed, you have limited amount of money and time and power and effort and energy. And you need to, very smartly decide where you want to invest them and how, and people also. And if someone is taking more energy from you or from his manager, from the team, rather than creating value. So that's kind of the tipping point. It's difficult. It's one of the most difficult things. And I was very bad at it. I improved over time, but I wouldn't say I'm like kind of the guy with a knife between his teeth. Right? This guy's not fire them all. Very far from me. So it's always tricky.
It's a very interesting topic for me as well. I learned through my career, and I was managing a team of up to 30,000 people who were working in my extended team, whom I was in charge of. And I learned that I never regret firing, laying off the person at the end. I would never I would not remember any case when I said, okay, I was wrong laying this person off, letting this person go. But I regret a lot when I didn't do it on time. So there were many cases when I had to do it and I never did it on time. So from that perspectives, from that experience, I learned that when you feel that you have to let this person go, you have to let this person go immediately, right? Because it means that you're already delayed with this. It means that when you think you need to let the person go, this is already there, right? So yes. Probably you had to do it even before, but you didn't have this feeling. This feeling should come faster with experience. So maybe my advice to founders would be, you don't like the person for whatever reason, you have to trust your feeling, you have to trust your experience, and you have to let this person go. You only have to work with people who you truly love, right? And the reason for that is that you are CEO, right? So you are the person who define the strategy of this company. And no matter why you don't like this person, if this person is not good fit for your chemistry, it means that this is an element which destroys your company and your strategy and your vision, right? Sometimes you like people who object you, who don't say good things to you, right? And you still like the person. So it's not necessarily every person around you should support you, but every
Definitely.
person around you, you should really love and respect, right? Otherwise, you could not work with those people. And that's what I learned as CEO, as a manager, to do. So over time, which is difficult, right? It's difficult
Yes.
to trust your own opinion because, okay, I mean, is it like an ego or is it something else? Is it like true that this person is not good fit? And I think that's kind of practice I learned.
I completely agree with you. I have some of the people here, working 4 years with, which we almost don't agree on anything. But they challenge and they have good heart and they work well with people and they understand when, and they have good intentions. They might not be my best friends. I might not go and take them out for dinner or beers, but they're good for the company, whatever they're doing. That's one. Secondly, I think in respect to everything you said, trusting your gut and whatever, I kind of feel that, early stage, the most important thing is time. Money affects time, energy affects time, and, you don't want to waste time on contemplating, on wasting it. When you waste it, the money is burning. Take fast decisions. Again, fail fast and move on or succeed. Also in terms of people, delving into something too long, as you said, you've already taken the decision. You're just, your human spirit is, creating an internal storm that clouds your judgment. Trust your judgment, trust your gut, do it fast. Everyone, I always tell it to people, not in a bad way, but, I was told 20 something years ago about my first manager, that I was very concerned that someone left the team and whatever. He said, the cemeteries are full of irreplaceable people. So, even if, you'll get someone else, you get someone better, everyone is replaceable. Even if people are leaving you, you have to fire them, run fast. And these things, people also bad hires, takes, time and money to hire, training, understanding, hiring a new person, you lost 6 months. And if it's a critical, VP role, so it can be very, very, very impactful on the company or on yourself, because if he's out, you have to do all his work and then, you're not focusing on other stuff that you need to focus on.
Right. Okay. So, last topic I wanted to cover. So, half a year ago or so, company which you led for a few years decided to go through M&A process and was sold to one of its customers, a public company, Dynatrace. Was it an easy decision? Why the board decided to sell rather than to continue developing things forward? What was the reason for that?
I think, it's a simplistic question for a very complicated answer. There's a million reasons: people, money, macroeconomics, funding environment, customers, metrics, business, product. But eventually, it's up to us to take everything into a pot and to decide, pros and cons and kind of, it's not about this, the decision to do it. It's about what's your alternatives and what's the probability for them to happen.
So what were the alternatives and what were the probabilities, you think?
So, again, simplistically enough, it's all the opportunities or all the alternatives that are relevant for every company. It's either, dying, try to sell to another company, raising another round. That's it. We weren't in an IPO stage.
Dying is not what you're targeting to do for sure. So
for sure, but that's an option. That's an alternative. And when you take a decision, not to take this offer and continue to that task, to the next fundraise. So you're putting into the consideration, your metrics, your success, your competitors, whatever, your cap table, gazillion reasons. And, what's the probability for that to happen versus not to happen, and then you die. So, it's always an option. It's the worst option, but, it's the option. You can die with, sorry for, dwelling on that. you can die with cash, you can die without cash. Do you give cash back to your investors, or do you say, okay, let's burn it all until, and try a Hail Mary and, or pivot, say whatever you can, we don't want to do it. Let's do it. Is the company structured in a way that will enable you to do that in terms of cap table, in terms of number of employees, funding, everything? So, it's a very, complicated matrix to take the decision.
I'm always kidding that there is only one reason when companies die, startups die, is that they run out of cash, right? That's the only reason. So there is no second reason. And why they run out of cash, there are thousands of reasons why, but the end of the company is always the same, right? You simply don't have enough cash to continue, right? So,
yeah.
Did you explore? Yeah.
Sometimes, founders fight and they just, break up, and then, they close shop and give the money back, which also, it's not common, but
sometimes it's a good outcome, for investors.
It's better to find out early than late and burn more money for investors. So, yeah.
Indeed. So you decided not to raise. Was it just because of the environment? So what was the reason why company decided not to continue? Was it like a truly bad environment?
I think it's a combination of many elements. Funding environment was very difficult at the time that we started the negotiations and got the offer. So, it's this versus that. Secondly, it was a company that ran for, 5.5 years with, people working for a long time. There's a bit of fatigue as well. If you're not in the $100 million in ARR and seeing a clear trajectory, startup is difficult and it's a struggle. And you take into account kind of potential outcomes and calculations of, for the people and for the founders and for the investors and for myself and for everything. And, pros versus cons and kind of, lifetime value of, okay, do we want to invest 3 more years? What's the potential outcome? We raise money, all good. We get around, we get this dilution, we get to this amount of sales. Where does it put us in terms of valuation, in terms of potential? So, it's all a huge decision tree. And eventually, you sit with the board and you kind of being transparent and open up everything, not that it's never all, it's always open, but, you have a more structured discussion. You get their blessing as to this or that. And, you understand their mindset or, your mindset, since you were there as well, and taking the best decision for everyone. Because, when you get to that point, it's not only for the, most of the decisions I took throughout the years is for the good of the company. When you get to the end of the company, so it's for the good of everyone. Again, not everyone wins, and there's some who gain more, some who gain less, some who gain zero. But you balance it all out, and eventually you have to take a decision. So that's the decision we took, and I believe it was the right one. And also, kind of in terms of the acquirer, we had good relationship with them, partnership, and they were a client, and the synergies of what we do were perfect. And, they're taking now the tech that we did and putting that into their machine. And it was like, for us, it's seeing, an expedited on steroids, path to the success of what we built until now. So it's the continuation of the success. It's not the end of something and the beginning of something new. It's the continuation of a journey with, a gap year of integration and making sure everything is wrapped up. But,
I do believe that was the right decision. And I think that company did its best, for sure, in very difficult and very challenging environment, and the team did it best. So I wish the team definitely the success in your journey, and I hope that you evolve with some other ideas which fund like ours, R136, will be able to invest into. Maybe last thing I wanted to touch base upon the future. So is there a future for software developer as a profession? Do you think with all these copilots and rapidly evolving no code, low code, there will still be a demand for software developers in coming, say, 10 years? Is it the profession which is going to be eliminated completely? How do you see this evolution of AI? What would be your advice to founders in that respect? Does it really make sense to do tech companies going forward?
So the simple answer is yes. We will have more tech companies and we will drive it. And there's a lot of ideas and a lot of place to work in. I think, as always, the market is shifting, it's changing. The companies that exist today are not the companies from 20 years ago, and they're not the companies from 30 years ago. Devs has changed, environment has changed, ecosystem has changed. Now AI came. I don't think devs will be redundant. I don't think AI will solve all the world's problems.
So there will still be software developers, right? So I can advise my kids, they can go and study engineering.
The frameworks just changed. The frameworks just changed. 25 years ago, the best and most brightest devs were the one who spoke binary and knew, we learned assembly and moving registers and understanding how the heap and the stack and, the low level of the world works. Now it's just wrapped in, 20 years of frameworks that, it's very simple. So you have to learn different stuff. And that we have a team of people who speaks assembly, but, it's very narrow. Now there's different needs and, it's more high level, it's more experience wise, it's more AI, it's more models, and we have to adapt with years, what we did 20 years ago is irrelevant now. It's a fast moving world, the tech industry. I don't think it will go away. I think it's just, people need to be smart and not to get stuck in COBOL.
Okay. And what's the best, the next big thing you believe will evolve? Is there any big idea which you would advise founders to tackle and investors to have a look at?
Literally, if I had something which I would thought it's the next big thing, I would have, hand in my resignation and go out and solve it.
Okay. So, this was Shahar Fogel, my friend and CEO of a company which was backed by R136 Ventures called Rookout. And he's now an executive in Dynatrace company which acquired Rookout. Thank you very much for being here with us, and we will continue.
Thank you, Victor.
Ventures from the Valley is brought to you by R136 Ventures. To find out more about R136 Ventures and how we scale mid to late stage startups by unlocking their true potential through investment, visit r136.vc. We will be back soon. In the meantime, make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. On behalf of our team here at R136 Ventures, thanks for listening.